The ultimate purpose of the ISGAP-Oxford Summer Institute is to create a space for faculty and students to engage issues of contemporary anti-Semitism at a high level of scholarship. And by doing these summer institutes, by training university professors, that they'll develop a course with our expert guidance, go back to the home university and implement the course for credits, where they teach hundreds, if not tens of thousands of students.
It brings people together from all over the world. So we've got people with very different frames of reference, all focused on one particular topic. And that is, how do we combat issues of anti-Semitism globally? So each of us is bringing our expertise, our life's work, our passion, and our commitment to this one topic that affects so many of us across the globe.
I could have never had this experience back home in India, where even Jewish studies are not available as an academic discipline, let alone anti-Semitism studies, though the subject is badly needed. I didn't know much about leftist anti-Semitism, though it is there in my country, India. I wasn't aware of the problem of anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe to the extent that I came to be aware of during the institute here.
I've learned a great deal about how we got from historical anti-Semitism to contemporary manifestations of anti-Semitism, so that I can incorporate that into the class I teach that deals with the subject, which is modern Israel. I teach a history of modern Israel.
The Palestinians have to be seen as part of that greater Arab and Muslim nation which wants Israel to disappear. And that's how Israeli sees them. Not just the Palestinians in the occupied territories, but Israel's Arab minority of 1.15 million are seen as part of that greater Arab world which wants to destroy Israel, essentially. In its heart, that's what it wants to do.
It's a very intense program. For me, it was very informative on the one hand. On the other hand, very emotional as well, because this is a topic you cannot just comprehend without feeling how intense it is.
We know from history the tragedy of anti-Semitism is it's a form of hatred that begins with Jews, but it never ends with Jews. The study of contemporary anti-Semitism is the only form of hatred in the current academy that is not being dealt with.
Anti-Semitism is the oldest form of hatred. And so every other hatred, in many ways, is birthed out of anti-Semitism. Even with my own challenges in America as a black male, this institute has given me wings for the work that I do in terms of justice work.
My experience here with ISGAP is very amazing. I think after I'm back into my university, I have a lot of things to tell to my students and my colleagues. Even if you dislike something, this thing is true and happen, you will not make it unhappen, and you will not make the truth be to come untruth.
There's a certain agony when I see the evil, how rapidly it spreads, how blind, how willfully blind so many people are in the political leadership and in the academy, the academic leadership. Not so much they're afraid, I mean, they are afraid of being called bigots or Islamophobes, but it's also the anti-Semitism they don't want to deal with.
Mainstream education at the best universities, the Ivy Leagues, the Oxbridges, the Sorbonnes of the world, have incorporated this sort of worldview when it comes to Jewish peoplehood and Israel and Zionism. This is not the rantings and ravings of the extremists anymore, but this is passing as serious scholarship. So when the world demonizes Israel and protests that a small settlement expanded its households, when next door we have human rights violations that are, if not unprecedented, pretty horrific. There's well-sourced reports that there's actually even a crematorium that's operational outside of Damascus.
I study Holocaust education from a non-Jewish perspective, working with non-Jewish teachers in non-Jewish schools. I now know people who are experts in how anti-Semitism is used as a tool in conflicts across the world that I can contact and have become not just colleagues but also friends.
This year we had 35 participants. So we've been doing this for 3 years. We have 90 graduates. And until now the success rate of teachers implementing their course is over 90%. And it would be amazing if 120 or 140 professors from around the world could come together, could network, can speak, can learn together, and to really make this movement, this grassroots movement, have more impact and effect. It's relatively not an expensive proposition. It costs about $5,000 a professor, and in turn, if they teach groups of students, it's only about $80 a student to become educated on contemporary anti-Semitism studies. We have to train the next generation. There's no easy answers. This is a generational war that the university, the institution that defends democracy and educates our leaders, must be infused with this subject matter.